Hello everyone and welcome to today's book sharing session. In an atmosphere filled with excitement and the desire to explore new ideas, we're going to delve into a truly valuable work that promises to offer profound perspectives on motivation and self-determination in life. That book is Why We Do What We Do. Stepping forward, but is that truly our intrinsic motivation? If you haven't yet identified your true driving force, if you're constantly surrounded by anxiety, pressure, and begin to doubt the meaning of the work you're doing, if there are still hesitations and struggles in your heart between the expectations of parents, partners, society, and the life you truly love, then authors Edward Deci and Richard Flast, through this book, will help you find answers. From there, you can discover your own inner motivation. Motivation, or a disguised reward. Perhaps everyone has seen animal circus shows on television. To get the animal to obey and follow commands, the trainer will give it something it loves to eat. After a long time, they develop a conditioned reflex, believing that simply repeating an action as requested by the trainer will earn them delicious treats. For them, these tasty cakes are the encouraging rewards that fuel their motivation. In reality, this type of motivation is present everywhere for us humans. Have you ever wondered why you have to work, even work overtime, taking on risks to your physical and mental health? Some will answer that it's only by doing so that you can receive the bonus that the company and leaders promised you. This year, the company will give a higher year-end bonus so you can have a prosperous Tet holiday, or if you pass the exam and get into ABC school, Dad will buy you the latest scooter. You've probably heard similar statements countless times. This is a form of encouragement through rewards. So, if there were no salary or bonuses, would you voluntarily work hard? If there were no allowances, would you be willing to work overtime? If you didn't receive anything, would you study day and night to get into a top-tier school? It's true, encouragement gives you strength. Many people, including psychologists, agree that these encouragements from rewards in life help people find the motivation to continue. However, while these encouragements help you try harder, why is it that at some point, you feel tired and disgusted with the current situation? After many years of research, the authors realized that the reason lies in the fact that rewards can weaken your own internal motivation. In an experiment from 1960, the authors recruited student participants. They were divided into two groups to play with puzzles. Beside the puzzles in the experimental room were placed popular magazines of the time. In one of the two groups, each student would receive $1 after finishing the puzzle. This was a significant amount of money back then for the students. The other group was not promised any rewards, they were simply invited to participate for fun. The experiment lasted 8 minutes. After the experiment, the authors discovered that the students who received the $1 reward after playing all read the magazines. For the most part, they found the puzzle game not very interesting and not worth playing further. For them, playing the puzzle was like a temporary job to earn money, simply complete it to receive the money. The other group was completely different. Although they completed the puzzle quickly according to the rules, they found the process quite interesting. Therefore, they continued playing until the 8 minutes were up. From this experiment, the authors concluded, for those who agreed to play with the condition of a reward, the puzzle was essentially a task of selling their time for pay. For those who didn't receive $1, they could play with enjoyment throughout the entire process because they had chosen to participate willingly from the beginning, even without any rewards. Therefore, rewards have the potential to harm a person's intrinsic motivation. If we work only to receive rewards, we will gradually lose interest in what we are doing. The reason why encouraging rewards can weaken a person's inner motivation is that it can manifest as disguised control. This is also what this book wants to warn you about. Please be cautious and maintain the boundary between rewards and control. So, what is a true reward? A reward must be a joy from the bottom of the heart when we give a gift to someone, because we see their positive attributes and growth. If we consider a reward as an exchange, completing something to get rewarded, otherwise not, then it's not called a reward, but control. There's an example that occurs very often in society. A 6-year-old child is sent to violin lessons by her parents. She doesn't like playing this instrument, so she can't concentrate for too long. Later, they find an experienced teacher. This teacher has a teaching method of giving rewards each time the child completes a task. she receives a secret treasure. These treasures are actually toys that children love. So, the little girl becomes enthusiastic about going to class, but each time, she quickly wants to finish the session. One day, the father discovers his daughter sitting and practicing the violin vigorously and diligently, but without producing any melodies. The father says, "Stop. Don't play anymore." The girl replies, "No, I have to play. I'll get a treasure after I play." The father realizes something is wrong and continues, "You don't have to practice anymore. Today, Dad will give you the treasure." The father completely breaks the teacher's rules. If you were a parent, would you realize this, or would you simply assume that your child doesn't have the talent and let her continue to try? Through the story, you'll see that the teacher used rewards to create a system that makes it easy to control the child. In front of every treasure, the child completely loses her ability to be autonomous. In reality, from kindergarten and elementary school to higher levels of education, teachers and parents often set similar regulations to control their students and children. Students who are diligent, organized, and follow the rules will be rewarded. Those who violate them will be punished. At this point, many parents and teachers say, if there are no such rules, how will they be organized and disciplined? In reality, the authors have experimented with classroom models where rewards and punishments are not used as a control system. The students are taught by teachers who change the language they use to communicate and guide them, asking "Why should I do something?" and letting them act with autonomy. At this point, the classroom isn't chaotic. Instead, the students' willingness to act increases significantly. If you don't know how to encourage others and can't help them find internal motivation to act, you'll tend to control, seduce, and use tricks, using rewards as an exchange. From family education, schools, businesses, to the larger society, there are always systems of disguised rewards. This creates unspoken rules that are imposed on people. When there are invisible forces driving you, at a certain point, you automatically know what you have to do. For example, graduating from college means finding a job, reaching a certain age means getting married and starting a family. After starting a family, you have to think about having children. However, let me ask you this. Do you feel happy from the bottom of your heart when your parents and leaders encourage you to move forward like that? Bound by rules and control, are you willing to do what others want you to do, step by step? The authors believe that whether it's rewards or control, the motivation you get from them is very fragile and cannot become your internal motivation. You'll notice that when you do something because of material things for too long, your autonomy will be weakened. When a person's autonomy is weakened, their internal motivation will decrease, and of course, they will not feel joy or happy emotions throughout the process. Besides disguised control, there are also threats that can have similar consequences. For example, parents often tell their children, if you don't do your homework diligently, you won't be allowed to watch TV. Leaders tell their employees, if you don't complete this project, you won't get a bonus this year. From their perspective, this is a strategy to create motivation. However, the result is often counterproductive. Furthermore, things like tracking, competition, evaluation, and other similar driving behaviors will also cause a lack of internal motivation in people. When we understand this, we'll know why we're gradually losing motivation to work, study, or do other things in life. So, how do we get internal motivation? In other words, how can we find an ideal job and develop our internal motivation? The authors point out that internal motivation is only activated when three key psychological needs are met: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The first key element is autonomy. As analyzed above, we gain autonomy when we are not controlled too much by external rewards and punishments. At this point, you need to consider yourself: am I acting only because I want to achieve some reward? Are you working only for money? Studying only for grades? Participating in activities only to gain some reputation, etc.? If your motivation comes from these things, you'll become increasingly controlled and gradually lose your self-determination. There is also another concept here called separation, which refers to a state of living in which you separate yourself from yourself. It's like your body is here, but your mind is not present. You go to work, but deep down you always have a certain resistance. You can't concentrate on studying, and it takes a lot of effort to get into the working state. Or, although you try very hard, you still feel difficult and miserable. In contrast to separation is the state of immersion. This is the state where you can work voluntarily, authentically, connect with yourself, and integrate with the surrounding environment. When people fall into a state of separation, they often live in two terrible environments. One is living without motivation, and the second is living like an automaton. You can see many people around us who are in this state every day. They rush to work overtime to earn money, gain more profit, and achieve success, but in reality, they constantly feel tired and empty. Both of these states usually come from the excessive effects of loss of control. So, remember that the first step to regaining real motivation is to have the ability to be autonomous. Next, to have autonomy, you must have an awareness of your own abilities. If, after watching the video The Alchemist, you're still thinking I don't really know what I like or where my motivation is, it means you don't have enough awareness of your own competence. Does what you do stem from genuine passion and provide internal motivation? It needs to meet both key elements. First, you must have the potential and ability to perform. Second, you are not controlled by external factors during this process. The opinions, comments, and expectations of others have no effect on you. When you are truly interested, you will be full of energy and can work more enthusiastically. You do not act because others tell you that you should or should not do this. You do not act because your parents or someone else forces you to, nor is it because of money, fame, power, or competition. At this point, you know that even if this job doesn't meet the expectations of the outside world, you can still persevere to the end. In fact, the more competent you are, the more you will be attached to that job, and this is also the job that you really want to do. The third important psychological need is relatedness. To achieve complete motivation, you need to build connections with other people. Humans cannot live alone in this world. We must have connections to feel happy. However, building connections with others doesn't mean you can't be independent. In this book, the author has a friend who spends a week each month fishing and living alone by the sea. He goes home when he feels like it. He does this not because he hates his home but, on the contrary, he can still fully connect with his family and society. This is relatedness without conflicting with independence. Relatedness here actually means that whatever job you do, it should be something that creates value and helps others. If you work in a business, your value will be determined by the subject of your work, for example, customers, consumers, etc. Your value will not be determined by your boss, HR, or colleagues. In the previous video, Inferiority is the beginning of becoming extraordinary, we talked about the pursuit of the deepest nature in humans, belonging and personal value. Here, you will see the similarities between the two books. Belonging here is equivalent to our connection to the world, and personal value is about our abilities and autonomy. There is a formula like this: happiness equals the ability to do something combined with autonomy, which creates value. If you want to feel happy in life, you need to have the ability to do the work you are doing and do it voluntarily, ultimately creating value and connecting with other people. When all three of these things combine, you will have happiness. How to gain the power of autonomy? By now, everyone must have realized that the most important point in promoting intrinsic motivation lies in autonomy. In this final part, we will explore additional methods to achieve true autonomy. First of all, I want to emphasize that it is really important. Start exploring what you want to do, get started, and think about the work we care about and enjoy. And before doing anything, carefully consider the motivations behind our actions as well as discovering what intrinsic motivation is. I can give an example of two women who want to lose weight. One does so because her husband criticizes her, and the other does so because she feels that her overweight condition is negatively affecting her health. So, which of these two motivations comes from within? Yes, of course, it's the motivation of woman number 2. Many people don't understand why they constantly drink alcohol, play games, and smoke. In reality, the purpose of these things is to escape pressure, bring comfort, and reduce loneliness within them. To successfully change a behavior, you need to start by exploring what intrinsic motivation is. At this point, to change, you will have to be truly honest with your thoughts. Next, The second thing we need to do is learn to accept constraints and find autonomy even in control. It is impossible to completely escape the control of this world. It is very difficult. Parents, teachers, leaders, and partners will more or less put pressure on you, but you need to know that no matter how strongly the environment affects us, you yourself can still change it. Even if your parents raise you incorrectly, your school education is not good, and the culture in your company is full of imposition, you can still change your approach to the problem. For example, if you can't change your current job and still have to work overtime, if you think that you are unlucky to have a boss who makes you work overtime every day, and you think if I have the chance, I will leave this place immediately, these thoughts will only make you automatically work overtime in suffering. It won't be able to change anything at that moment. But if you change your thinking to, I am dedicating my time to developing myself. I am sure to become an expert in the work I am doing. This small change in mindset will give you a completely different working state. However, it's easier said than done. To change this, you need to learn how to control your emotions. Controlling emotions is not about suppressing pain or anger or pretending to smile, pretending not to be angry. This will only be like a time bomb that can explode at any time. Controlling emotions is actually a process of re-evaluating yourself to find freedom and escape the attraction of your own ego. If you have a position and a salary, your ego will automatically be drawn to it. Once there are any threats from the outside, your emotions will be easily triggered. But when you can observe and re-evaluate yourself, you won't easily be drawn into it anymore. Finally, we need to change our perspective a little bit, how to truly encourage and motivate others. We know that there are always consequences that encouragement from rewards and punishments brings. The authors encourage you to support and give others autonomy, but it doesn't mean being permissive. So, what is the specific method to truly encourage others to rise with internal strength? The first thing is to give them the power of choice. Allow children, students, and employees to participate in self-determination. For example, if your child doesn't want to do homework in the evening, they say, I'll do my homework tomorrow morning. At this point, if the parent forces the child to finish it right now before going to bed, the child's resistance will appear immediately. So, to adjust, first you can agree with the child and suggest that they wake up earlier tomorrow to do their homework, because that way they can have time to do other things. Let the child experiment with waking up early, and then ask them how they feel. If they say a little tired, then you can continue to give suggestions. Well then, you should manage your time yourself. In this way, the child will gradually change, either completing their homework in the evening or going to bed early, waking up early to do their homework so they are not tired during the day. Here, you don't need to argue or force them. Let the child explore and experience it for themselves. When they have more space to choose, their autonomy and motivation will gradually grow. Another method to motivate others is to support autonomy but also set limits. That is, give them the power to decide but also need to let them take responsibility for all the consequences of that choice. This method can be applied to anyone. Everyone can feel that we are born free but cannot be without principles. Then, you need to clearly distinguish between consequences and punishment. If an employee does not complete the task and a child does not do something properly, let them bear the consequences of their behavior. However, don't punish them unreasonably or bring up an unrelated issue to criticize them. Some people say if you keep doing that, I won't trust you anymore. Is this distrust a consequence or punishment? It's obviously an unclear punishment. If you don't trust them, then terminate the cooperation. If you continue to cooperate, you should maintain trust with the other party. According to the last point, to create motivation for others, we need to provide rewards along with recognition. This reward is intended to support positive behaviors, not to control them. This is an extremely important point that the authors emphasize in this book. From autonomy to freedom. Mark Twain has a great quote, "In life, there are two most important days, that is, the day you were born and the day you understood the meaning of life." From the content of this book, perhaps you will understand that the meaning of your life lies in whether you have the ability to be truly autonomous, and happiness is also the ability to pursue true autonomy. But all in all, what we are pursuing is to move from autonomy to personal freedom. Many people want financial freedom, the freedom to buy a house, the freedom to buy anything they want, endless freedom, but when they have trillions of dollars in hand, they still don't feel enough to have the freedom they desire. They continue to force themselves to do things they don't want to do, but that is not true freedom. The more a person pursues personal goals stemming from external motivation, the more they will lose true freedom. The authors say that freedom means true autonomy, which means acting truly without being bound by any rigid internal system and control from the outside. Freedom means having a desire to be autonomous in action and being guided by their true self. I hope we can all recognize that the weakness of human beings is that they are easily controlled and also want to control others. But you must believe that no matter how chaotic the outside world is, you can still create autonomy for yourself. I hope that each day you will have at least a few times to feel immersed in the flow state, from work to life, so that you can recognize that you are blending with it and not using separation or living in hurt. This is also when the internal motivation in you is ignited. Remember the quote from The Alchemist: "When you really desire something, the whole universe conspires to help you achieve it." Thank you for listening. I hope this sharing has been helpful to you on your journey to find motivation and self-determination. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it, give me a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to see my latest videos every week. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss other valuable content. Once again, thank you all, and see you in the next book review.